Before we go any further into the video, Izzy and Tony Ferguson is not the same. But hey, it's your boy DHP, and y'all know the rest, man. And hey, so welcome in to another installment of the weekend recap. By the way, y'all probably ain't gonna tell, but my allergies is fucking me up, so that's why y'all niggas getting some scenery today. Y'all seeing some water in the house in the background over there. But yeah, we got a lot of shit to talk about, as well as going over the fights and matchmaking a little bit. Also, I'm gonna talk about that boy DJ, because DJ, they finally, you know, he's in the UFC Hall of Fame. It's about time the UFC give this nigga the respect that he deserves, because towards the end of his UFC run, it wasn't super bad, but it wasn't roses either. But we're gonna get to DJ more later in the video. But Izzy and Tony Ferguson. So I shout out to Proxys. I fuck with his content heavy. He a UFC video game content creator, and he talk about fights and play other games. So shout out to him. I seen his video, and I seen a lot of other niggas' comments. Izzy is really, if you really think about it, Izzy and Tony Ferguson is different. I feel like, for those that have been watching the UFC as long as I have, y'all know about BJ Penn. I grew up watching BJ Penn. I feel now BJ Penn fought before I even started watching UFC. But when I started watching UFC, that was like BJ's like true prime. So yeah, it's fair to say I grew up watching BJ Penn. But when BJ Penn came back to the UFC, because he took some time off. He took some time off, and then when I got into high school, and then after high school, that's when BJ came back, and it was not the same BJ. Like, the BJ Penn from when I was growing up was just a fucking monster, obviously, because he was in his prime form, right? But the BJ Penn that came back when I was in high school and after high school, that was just a broken down, out of prime, non-evolving BJ Penn, because the sport done passed him up, really. But BJ Penn when he came back to the UFC during that time, you could compare that to Tony Ferguson. And then also with Izzy, yeah, I understand that Izzy losing to Joe Pyfer, that makes like four losses in a row. So I understand that he's heading towards Tony Ferguson level of losing, right? But niggas gotta really think about this shit. To me, and I'm gonna put it in a perspective where you know, I'm gonna put it in a perspective where it's not the same. If you really think about it, Izzy dominated his weight class, right? The nigga dominated middleweight, his era, and cleaned out the top 10, top 15. Izzy, it's fair to say, as a champion, as a top 5 ranked fighter, and as a champion, he dominated his era. So the niggas he's losing to, other than Sean Strickland, because Sean Strickland been in the UFC for a while. A lot of niggas don't even realize Sean been in the UFC for like some years now. It's just like the past like 2 years he finally got his breakthrough. Izzy dominated his era, so the niggas that he's losing to is part of this new generation and current era. Because you think about DDP and Sean Strickland, I mean, yeah, Sean Strickland, he's part of the last era, right? But DDP is part of the current era. Nazaddine, you could kind of say he's kind of new era, but he's also part of this era, this current generation, right? Now you got Joe Pyfer, who's part of the new era. So it ain't like Izzy is losing to motherfuckers in his era. Well, Tony Ferguson, the only new generation MMA athlete that Tony lost to was Patty. Everybody else, like Beneil Dariush, Charlie Olives, Nate Diaz, Bobby Green, Beneil Dariush, that's all from Tony's era. That's all part of the Tony Khabib era. Like, excuse me, pause. Some of them, and also Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje. Now, Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje, they came from different organizations. Obviously, Justin Gaethje was World Series of Fighting. Michael Chandler was Bellator. Now, they came into the UFC fairly late, but when they started fighting and when they became household names, they're part of the Tony Ferguson and Khabib era and the Conor and Eddie Alvarez era. So it's fair to say that all the niggas that Tony lost to, sadly, even though I'm a big Tony Ferguson fan, right? Yes, Tony was on his huge winning streak, and he was just dominating niggas left and right. But let's be honest, bro. Tony lost to a lot of motherfuckers in his era, while Izzy dominated his era. The Paulo Costas, the Robert Whittaker, the Yoel Romeros, the Jared Cannoniers, the Marvin Vittoris, the Derek Brunsons. Izzy's era of middleweight, he mopped the floor with him. Tony Ferguson lost to his peers. Now, granted, maybe Tony, during that time, Tony just had that, how can I say this? Tony's prime run was more like in the moment type shit, if that makes sense. Like, okay, Tony, he's on his huge winning streak, right? And he's destroying niggas with the style of fights that he's destroying these niggas with. Nobody can match him other than maybe like Khabib or somebody like that, right? But Tony's prime, you can say Justin Gaethje beat the prime out of Tony Ferguson in that COVID in that fight they had in 2020. But after the Gaethje fight, he still lost to motherfuckers that was in his era. So even with that huge winning streak that Tony was on and becoming interim champ, Izzy, it'd be one thing if Izzy losing, if Robert, say like if Izzy and Robert was to fight again, right, for what, like the 4th or 5th time, it'd be one thing if Robert finally got his get back on Izzy, but that's not the case, bro. So I think Izzy, comparing Izzy to Tony Ferguson, that's just inaccurate to me. Y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments. See, I want to know what y'all opinions on it, but yeah, I don't see it. I don't see the Izzy and Tony Ferguson's comparison. Now, to be quite honest, the only reason this shit is even a conversation because Izzy his ass want to keep fighting. Like, he don't want to fucking retire. And I did say in a review, by the way, I got to re-upload that on my other platform. But I'm like, okay, Izzy, I didn't check out the post-fight press conference nor the post-fight presser. So I want to see what he said. Now, I've seen a whole bunch of quotes of what he said, and Izzy still want to keep fighting. Now, my personal opinion, nah, bruh. Izzy, because now, if you really think about it, now, and going back to the new generation, Izzy is now going against the new guard. Because think about what's behind now, he's going to get shuffled back tremendously in the rankings. But if you really think about who's behind him and now who's potentially going to be in front of him, it's pretty much all new niggas. You know, Fluffy, Brendan Allen, then you got RoboCop, then you got Bruno Fajeda, and all these other niggas. I just don't see Izzy, and I fuck with Izzy heavy. Y'all can tell during the review, but Izzy time is up, bro. If I was Izzy, at this point, it's time to hang it up, bro. Time to hang it up and become like, become like a striking coach or whatever, or even getting involved with the sport, still getting involved with the sport, like on the broadcast level, getting in the booth or the round table, whatever. But Izzy, yeah, bro, it's time. It is time, which it hurts me to say it, but we got to keep it 100 on this channel. Just because I like you, I got to keep it 100, call down the middle. Izzy really don't have anything to prove at this point, because once again, he dominated his era at middleweight. This is a new era he going against, and these niggas are just faster and just better than him at this point. But yeah, dog, Izzy, it's raps, bro. Because Trey the Truth is only going to become Tony Ferguson if he keeps losing. Like, that's probably the only thing that they're going to have in common is, like, the losing streak. But everything else is not comparable. So, yeah, man, Izzy, he got to... It's time, bro. It's time, because... And I'm going to sound like like I said on the review, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but when you break down these fights, these last couple fights with Izzy, he starts out good, and it's like prime Izzy, but then, you know, there's a missing piece to the puzzle, and it's because Izzy lost a step. I mean, it's only natural. It's sports evolution. So, Izzy, gotta go ahead and retire, brother. You can still be involved with the sport, but you gotta go ahead and retire. But on to Joe Pyfer. This motherfucker, the more I think about it, the more I think he can potentially be a future champ at middleweight. I was giving Bo Nickel a lot of high praise about, you know, with all Bo Nickel got to do is get his strike together, right? But the wrestling is there. And the way middleweight is going with grappling base, now it's starting to really tide. The tide is changing at middleweight, because now we starting to get a lot of these kickboxers and Muay Thai and boxers in the middleweight. Now, and with Cam Zach going up to light heavyweight, middleweight, there's only going to be a few grapplers at middleweight now. Because you think about who's still there. You got Nasruddin Imov, which pretty much could do both, but he's a striker first. Caio Borrello. Then you got RoboCop. Jared Cannonier is still at middleweight. Bruno Ferreira. Now you got Joe Pyfer, who can grapple too, but he's going to stand there and strike with you, and he got power. Joe Pyfer in the mix, as well as the other people that's rising up in the middleweight rankings, is starting to bring back, as I'm going to talk about it later in the video with the featherweights, is bringing back that boxing and kickboxing and Muay Thai base to that weight class. But Joe Pyfer, bruh, now I had the chance to sit back and sleep on it. I'd give her Nasruddin Imov. Cam's had and Sean Strickland, they're going to go for the belt, right? Sean Strickland, but here's the thing, though. We got to figure out what's going on with DDP. Because if Cam's at Sean Strickland, right? Cam's at goes up to light heavyweight, win or lose. I would not give Joe Pyfer the title right now, and then I would have Nasruddin, because he declined. You can't, and that's one of my pet peeves. Like, y'all know how I feel about when niggas decline shit because it's their teammate or their best friend or whatever. Like, bro, y'all can be cool outside the octagon. Like, this is the sport. This is the professional sport of MMA at its finest, and title shots and fighting for UFC gold. I mean, granted, you know, we got Cyril Gahn, who got, this nigga Cyril Gahn got unlimited title glitches, and then Diego Lopez lost to Volk, and then fights one time against Gene Silver, destroys him, and instantly get the rematch, right? So I understand in certain situations, you can always go back and get another title shot, but for the vast majority part of the equation, title shots only come by so often for niggas. So for Nasruddin to decline the belt, decline to fight against Cam Zach, I'm like, all right, bro. You're not fully in the doghouse, but you got to be in the doghouse. So you getting skipped over for the winner of the Cam Zach and Sean Strickland. So I would give Joe Pyfer, Nasruddin Imov, and then we got to see what happens with DDP. Because if you don't want to give it to Nasruddin, if you don't want to have him match against Nasruddin, then maybe somebody like DDP or Fluffy, you know what I mean? But I personally would give it to Nasruddin, bro. Nasruddin, you're not getting winner. You're not getting winner because you declined your shot. So you getting Joe Pyfer. Plain and simple. End of story right there. But I'm gonna piggyback what I said on the review show. Joe Pyfer, out of all the up and coming niggas, and then you know we seen Alex Pereira Jr. Out of all the up and coming and new generation middleweights, Joe Pyfer got the most dangerous upside in a good way, because his striking got to get better, and his footwork got to get better. But he has the power and he can grapple. So all he needs now is just get his boxing under control. Maybe he needs to go to Trevor Whitman, because I don't believe he's with. I don't know who his peoples is, but if he gets with Trevor Whitman to perfect his boxing and his head movement and his octagon IQ, who's stopping this nigga, bro? Because he can already grapple. Who's really stopping Joe Pyfer? So yeah, he definitely got the most upside, and this not no recency bias overreaction. This is telling the truth. Joe Pyfer really do got the most upside as far as like the new generation middleweight. So I'm interested in seeing, you know, what his next matchup gonna be. And tell you the truth, Cam Zat moving up to light heavyweight, even though I want him to stay at middleweight, Cam Zat moving up to light heavyweight is actually speeding up half of these niggas' runs as getting to the title. Because now the door is wide open. You know what I mean? So, yeah, bro. Give Joe Pyfer, Nasruddin Imov, and that should be determined who should fight for the belt. And then, you know, somebody else, we will figure out who will face the winner of Joe Pyfer and Nasruddin later down the road. Yeah, then on to the women's side. On to the women's side. And y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Would you give Macy the fourth shot at Valentina, or would you let Valentina face somebody else? Because my first reaction was, now I think Macy done fought herself, especially in today, and y'all hear me say this a lot, today's UFC climate is really about entertainment, right? Valentina, the way she destroyed Macy Barber and brutally knocked her out, she done fought herself into the fourth fight with Valentina. But on the other side of things, if you go back to my philosophy on how the UFC should honor the fighting rankings and shit like that, I would give Alexa somebody else and let Valentina fight Natalia Silva for the belt. Let Valentina fight Natalia Silva, or let Natalia Silva fight Valentina for the belt, and have Alexa either fight the winner, or you know what, have Alexa Grasso fight Manon Farad. That would be a good stylistic matchup right there for both of them. And that could be the title eliminator fight right there. But Alexa, she's one of those that proved me wrong too, because I for sure thought that Macy was just gonna destroy her on the ground and just dominate her. But she proved me wrong. And Macy Barber, you got to get your shit together, girl. You got to get your shit together. I believe this is the first fight back since the whole Aaron Blanchfield shit, when she had that seizure, and Aaron Blanchfield, that fight was called off like mid-event. So yeah, Macy, Lord, this is actually a little tough for Macy, because yeah, she's coming off that seizure, and that fight was canceled. And now she get brutally knocked out by Alexa Grasso. And I mean brutal. So, yeah, Macy, she got to take some time off, bro. She got to take some time off and regroup, because it ain't looking too good for her. She probably had other than Shavkat, and we're going to talk about Shavkat down the road in the next couple weeks or so, but other than Shavkat, Macy probably had the toughest the past like year and a half or so. So yeah, that's pretty much my feelings on that shit. Alexa, yeah, I'd give it somebody like Manon for that, and let Valentina face You know, because if and also Valentina, she done basically cleaned out her. Obviously, she's one of the first ones to clean out her division, right? Valentina already beat Manon Farad. She's 1-1-1 against Alexa Grasso. We need a new matchup. So definitely I'll let Natalia Silva fight Valentina for the title, and Alexa will fight Manon Farad. So on to the last two topics. DJ, my nigga DJ. Gotta give you a round of applause, bro. Gotta give you a round of applause, because you is now in the UFC Hall of Fame. Not only was he in, and you know what? I should make a separate video on this, because I really want to go in depth with DJ, just him by himself. Because now we can talk about it on a bigger grand scheme of things. You know, him comparing to John Jones, because I always said John Jones is the GOAT of the UFC, but DJ as a whole for the sport of MMA, he's the best. Just for what he did in the UFC, then getting shipped off to one championship and still being a fucking beast at one championship. And so not only is he in the one championship Hall of Fame, but this nigga DJ also in the UFC Hall of Fame. And the UFC finally gave him the respect that he deserves. Because like I said in the beginning of the video, that last run, well, not his last run, towards the end of his run with the UFC, it was not roses, bro. It was not roses. And they was pissed off and upset that DJ did not want to take the fight against TJ because they lowballed him. And DJ said, nah, I know my worth. Y'all niggas not gonna do me like this. And they felt some type of way, so they shipped him off to one championship. To tell you the truth, more than likely it was a blessing in disguise for DJ, because he got to do other shit and expand. Because before with DJ, there was this narrative about DJ was like, yeah, he's talented and shit like that, but he's boring. He has no personality, and DJ was getting a lot of unwarranted hate. Like, it was at one point where DJ was probably the most disrespected fighter in the UFC, because a lot of real fans of the sport of MMA, they're gonna appreciate whoever, but a lot of the casuals and and a lot of other fans of MMA, they really don't resonate with niggas that's small, like the bantamweights and the flyweights. So DJ, to me, DJ was one of the most, honestly, I would say the most, he was the most underappreciated and disrespected fighter in the UFC. And I'm like, bruh, like, this nigga is so good, he don't deserve this hate that he getting. But UFC finally gave him the respect that he deserves by putting him in the Hall of Fame. And it's very, very, very deserving, bro. Like, for all the subscribers that are new to the sport of MMA or new to the UFC, go back and look at DJ's prime run. It was magnificent. And even, shout out to my cousin. I was over at his house and we was watching like highlights and shit like that. And we went to DJ's fight with Rod Tang and won championship. But UFC-wise, it was that flying armbar when he tried to German suplex Ray Borg, and he converted it into a flying armbar. Like, that shit is still fucking sick. But yeah, DJ, I gotta clap it up to you, my boy, because this was well deserved. And it's about time UFC finally start respecting its talent like this. Now, I do feel, or honestly, I'm not even gonna say that, because you know what? It was in DJ's hometown. Well, technically not hometown, but it was his home state and pretty much the city that, we're just gonna say that the city that he's from, even though he's not from Seattle, but it was pretty much a home crowd for him. So I wish DJ, they would have did this for DJ on a bigger grand scheme or a bigger venue with a bigger crowd. But you know what? I ain't gonna complain too much. Honestly, I ain't gonna complain at all, because they did it in his home crowd. So that was good. That was good. But we're gonna get super deep with it in another video because I want to put DJ in his own video. But the last thing I want to talk about, the featherweights, bruh. The featherweight might be hands down in the next 2 years. The featherweight might be the best division. It might be the best weight class in the UFC. Because between Kevin Verheios 3 weeks ago, then Luke Riley and other fighters last week, now this past Saturday, we got that boy Le'Veon Douglas. Now earlier I talked about boxing and Muay Thai and shit like that coming back to middleweight. Featherweight is definitely going back to that Jose Aldo type base. Like other than like Chad Mendez and what's old boy name? I forgot old boy name, but other than like Chad Mendez and them, Jose Aldo, Dennis Siva, Nick Lance, and Jeremy Stevens, all these other niggas, it was a boxing and kickboxing base weight class. And now you got Kevin Verheios, Luke Riley, and you got Le'Veon Douglas is going back to that boxing base. We had Ilya Taporia the past 2 years, but now Ilya Taporia done left and gone, and now these three is picking up where he left off with the boxing. Featherweight, hands down, in 2 years, in a year and a half, 2 years, hands down, might be the best weight class going forward. And that's saying a lot when you got lightweight, middleweight, and welterweight. So, and then flyweight, y'all know my favorite flyweight. My flyweight is up there too. But featherweight, man, I'm telling you, give it another year and a half, 2 years, bro. Featherweight is gonna be fucking jumping. Then you already have niggas like Gene Silva and Diego Lopez, and man, featherweight is bright, bro. It's real bright. Like now, niggas are starting to talk about the featherweights. I feel like Volk and Max held it down, and then we had Ilya Taporia, but I'm telling you. Now, this might be an overreaction and recency bias. With these three coming up, I think featherweight is going to be talked about even more than when it was Max and Volk and then Ilya Taporia. But I'm excited for featherweight, bro. I'm really excited for the future of featherweight. The current state of featherweight and the future. But, yeah, man. That's pretty much it. Really the only other thing is Dana White, he talking Islam defending the belt. They're looking at Islam defending the belt in August, and then Conor coming back for International Fight Week. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it for the week. PFL, I haven't forgot about my PFL. We definitely got to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that in a different video too, because Brian Battle, he got smoked. That boy Johnny Ebler, he's the truth. So I thought Brian Battle was gonna run through him. So I'm like, Brian is underrated. Like, he is so underrated. But yeah, I'm gonna get to them in another video too. But yeah, man, that's all I got for y'all today. So until my next video tomorrow, which, tell you the truth, depending on how I feel, I might drop that DJ video tonight. But yeah, man, until my next video, go to hell with y'all niggas later, man.